really
Cook
simple.
the man some fucking breakfast soup, bitch!
This looks like a job for me, so everybody just follow me. Cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty without breakfast soup. And I said, what about breakfast soup?
I need to tell you something.
Breakfast soup.
Gotta be fresh, gotta go downstairs. Gotta have my bowl, gotta have
Breakfast soup. Breakfast soup. Breakfast soup. Breakfast soup.
Happy Easter. No audio, DT.
Sorry about that. I had my mute. I had my thing mute because I was burping. I was trying to position myself before we started. I started coughing. I said, let me mute it. But happy Easter, my friend.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter. How you doing?
You know, I'm keeping busy with the work, but I got to tell you, psychologically, it's getting a little bit rough, man. It really is. You know, close to my parents, and I keep calling my mom. I said, let me stop by. I'll wear the mask. I'll wear the gloves. They said, we don't have to touch each other. We could stay, 10 feet apart. I'll go right downstairs in my apartment. She's like, no, let's wait a little bit longer. Then I found out today that, like my brother's been staying over their house too, but on the second floor. And they've been talking through the door. And my brother's wife made, I don't know if you ever had it, it's called ossobuco. It's like a veal dish. I've never had it before, but they made it for Easter. And they left it in front of my door. And I open the door, I take out the bag, and my birthday card is in there. My Easter card is in there for my mom and everything. And it sucks. It really does. And even, with my girl, she's inside and everything, but it's getting really, really tense because, I cough a little bit because whenever I eat dairy, we've talked about this before, I'll eat like a piece of chocolate or something, and you get that tickle in your throat. And she's spraying Lysol every minute or so, and her hands are getting like cut from all of the sanitizer she's putting on. And
she might be overdoing it. She might have to relax a little bit. I mean, that stuff is still a chemical, and you don't want to spray too much of it.
Right, but now, for people that don't know, I don't bring everything that's going on in my private life publicly. But Mish will tell you firsthand. Yesterday, I was on my way to pick up my fiance. I hadn't seen her all week, and she was in the car, and she told you. I didn't even say anything. Her brother got hit with coronavirus. I might have mentioned it Friday for a second, but her brother that does not live with her, so she hasn't seen this brother in about 5 weeks. But he's in NYU hospital right now with coronavirus. That's the first person that I know personally that got hit with it. So if you could only imagine, how nervous she was before, and now her brother has coronavirus. I mean, he's doing well. I mean, he's a young guy. They think he'll be home from the hospital in a day. How old is he?
Yeah.
Early 50s.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's not far up there. But
yeah, and this guy's like a physical specimen and everything. He's got no underlying conditions. The one thing that they were worried about is the fever. Once you break the fever, then they feel, okay, you should be good enough to go home. You just got to keep yourself isolated from the rest of the family. So, it's fucked up. But, it is what it is. I think the worst is over. I know some states are running a little bit behind Philly Pennsylvania and New York, California, and others. But for the most part, for all of us, I don't know how bad it is in Pennsylvania still for you right now. But here in New York, and I brought this up Friday a little bit, the people that are dying are the ones that were sick 2-3 weeks ago. You pay attention to the.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like there was one of the things I did notice, like I talked about a little bit on Frank and Gus too. The big thing with like even Chicago, 2 weeks ago, they only had like a couple of hundred cases reported. And now they have almost 20,000.
Right.
And the thing with that is, it's not that the number of people have significantly gone up. It's the number of people tested have significantly gone up. So unfortunately, there's been a lot of people that have had this coronavirus because now I think they have around 900 dead.
Yeah.
And, which is a big deal. But the thing is that they didn't have the tests 2+ weeks ago in order to really, dictate how many people actually had this virus. So there are a lot of people kind of fear mongering and saying, oh my God, look, it's spreading so fast in 2 weeks. And it's like, not necessarily. It's just that they have all the proper testing now so they can get a better gauge of how many people are actually ill and sick. And Chicago, a huge hub for that. So, I mean, just like New York City, just like LA, it's just New Jersey and Washington State have gone through some serious times. So,
yeah. I think that was what the point I was trying to get across on Friday. That it's my fault. I really should have just focused on that. When I've been criticizing that guy from England, was it Idris Elba? Is that his name? That famous actor? It's not that, I'm glad they caught it early or anything like that. The thing is that when he went public and said, I had no symptoms, nothing was wrong, and I tested positive. My point was that, the tests are not, available for the tens of millions out there. And they focused from day one for all of us regular folk that you only get tested when you show the warning signs, the symptoms. He showed no symptoms, yet he got his hands on a test. That was my point about it. There's a lot of people out there, everybody viewing, you and I, family, friends, neighbors, relatives, that we can't take the test unless we have fever, unless we're coughing up a lung. And you got these other guys, these guys and girls with blue check marks, tons of them are getting, getting tested. They have connections. And if anybody out there thinks that, some of these people aren't paying cash under the table to get their hands on a test, you're going to be pleasantly surprised, unpleasantly surprised, because that's what happens. That's the name of the game. You got money, you could get your hands on pretty much anything.
To be fair, and I do want to throw this out there. I mean, there's a lot of companies that are now testing their employees when they go in there to work.
Right.
Companies like Target, companies like Amazon are offering on-site testing every single day that you go to work.
Right.
Even for the drivers and stuff like that, the people that are doing Uber Eats and the people that are doing like Amazon Flex and stuff are receiving, masks, and they're receiving testing. And I guess there's a couple of different kinds of tests. One test I've been led to believe that it's a iffy test. It's like a 50% test.
Yeah.
And the cheap one, which unfortunately is the one that a lot of people have. And then there's a more discriminate test that will actually test out more accurately to depend on if you have COVID-19 or not. But I just wanted to really throw that out there because while you're right, there is a lot of people that are probably paying under the table in order to get the proper testing. There's a lot of companies that are also going above and beyond to make sure that all.
And that's very smart. That's very smart. Oh, I totally agree with that.
Dealing with thousands of people every day from the supermarkets to hospitals and everything, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. And it is what it is. I mean, I was bringing up Friday, the nurses, the cops, the firefighters, the grocery clerks, the delivery people, UPS, FedEx. One thing we forget, all the truckers as well, the truckers that are bringing the food. I mean, it's been nuts because even before this all happened, I would always order from Amazon Fresh and I get it delivered to my house. And I see people online, if you just go on Twitter and type in Amazon Fresh, there are some areas, I think we talked about it yesterday a little bit, that there's people that have been trying to get a time slot for a week. And they check 1 a.m, 5 a.m, midnight, 3 a.m., and there's no time slots open.
Well, that's a 2-slot problem. First slot is especially with Amazon, they don't have enough flex drivers. Matter of fact, they're making a huge hire. They're hiring like 10,000 new employees.
Yeah.
So Amazon is really stretching themselves out. Matter of fact, I'm going to be working a couple shifts with them just to make some income here.
That's cool.
But they've opened up a lot of doors for that. But I've also noticed it's only area dependent.
Right.
Like Joe was listening to the show yesterday too, and he was even commenting. He's like, it's funny that DT brought that up because even in my area, we don't get much from Amazon Fresh. He's like, I keep refreshing and we don't get anything. And I thought that was funny because Amazon Fresh by me totally works fine. I can get toilet paper, I can get food, I can get whatever the heck I want. And I'm based on the outskirts of Philadelphia.
Right.
But then I have friends out in California, they can't get nothing either. And I'm like, even though it's in stock for me here outside of Philly, they can't get the exact same thing out of California. It's blocked.
Right.
It's really weird. You know,
Yeah,
I think it really has to do with the amount of distribution that, you know, places like Target and Walmart and I mean, unless they're using like the post office or UPS or FedEx or DHL or something like that. For the most part, a lot of these in-house ones, like Amazon, who has their own delivery service, can't deliver in those areas because they probably don't have enough employees.
Right. That's true. I think that's definitely true. And, you know, I said,
they're opening up 10,000 plus new jobs right now.
Yeah, Domino's is hiring all around here. I mean, even on where I live, there's a 7-Eleven. I drove by there yesterday on my way to picking up my girl, and it said "Help Wanted." You know, so there are people hiring. You know, but
Which
you know, it's still a
crazy.
scary situation.
Everybody's worried about finances.
Right.
It's a weird thing to sit there and say that there's people wanting help right now when everybody's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat. I don't know what's going to happen to my job. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, pick up something for 3 months.
Right. John Krauser, he started doing DoorDash. He started doing some grocery food delivery and stuff like that. You know, it's just, I'm looking at the earlier chats. Rob Taker was happy early when I was muted. Sorry, Rob. Sorry for disappointing you. But, and that's true, Anonymous. You can get tested for free if you get arrested. So, but, you know, look, there are jobs out there. You know, I said this on Twitter about 3 weeks ago, and I really have stayed away from it because I don't want it to come off as negative because it is true. I was telling Joe Punches yesterday, you know, if you almost feel guilty if you're trying to make the best out of this. Like if you get some part-time work and you're getting some income and this and that, it's almost like you have to feel guilty of doing so because there's so much misery going on social media. And I told you this yesterday. That's why, by the way, happy 10-year anniversary. 10 years Wrestling Soup.
Yes.
Very, very happy for you.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Believe me, I'm amazed that we've even made it 10 years. I mean, it's been such a wild ride, but I mean, we couldn't have done it without you.
No, come on. You could have done it without it.
Absolutely.
Within a few months, that was it.
To our roots here. Come on now. So.
Well, you know, I was saying this to you yesterday that when I went on your show the other day, you know, I was going to talk about a few things going on, and I was like, nah, you know what? Let's just talk about everything non-coronavirus. Let's just laugh, reminisce, talk about yesteryear. And you know, that's what I try to focus on. You know, I don't know who that caller was that called into your show the other day right before I disconnected and I had to go back to work. I kind of felt bad after when I posted on Discord those 2 videos of me bowling strikes and everything. I was just going through my old hard drive trying to find old Joey 924 pictures, and here comes up these random video clips of me bowling strikes. And I was just trying to post that to say, like, look, everybody, you know, things are tough right now, but circle like good stuff around you, the positive.
You know, I will say that a lot of our shows, especially because we've been doing a lot of Frank and Gus's. For people that don't, me and Joe do a Frank and Gus totally free for people that want to listen in. But we focus on everything. Like you kind of have to talk about COVID because it's ingrained into us right now.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be doom and gloom every single time.
Right.
Like, I mean, even us talking about, you know, the food situation and Amazon situation, technically we're talking about COVID, but we're not talking about COVID. We're talking about how to survive and what it takes in order to, get the proper necessities to your house, to your family, to your loved ones and stuff like that. So
and that's important information.
It's a common topic because it's an important topic that's going on right now.
Absolutely.
It doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to be doom and gloom,
Right.
because you can still have fun. You can still joke. You can still take your mind off of things.
Right.
Like you actually, I don't know if you've seen this or not. Have you taken a look at some of those goofy masks that people have worn?
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Like the water bottles.
The cutout water bottle and the diapers. There was a guy who blew up a condom the other day.
Yeah. They had there's a guy that had the maxi pad over his mouth and nose.
The best one was the guy walking down the street that was inside that big round balloon or whatever. He had that big round body thing, and he's just walking down the street, and he's inside this bubble, and it just, there's some really My brother at his deli, they're wearing like those clear riot gear masks.
Right.
Those are the latest one now, because what's happens is, especially you and I, we wear glasses. You put on that mask and it starts fogging up your glasses. You can't see nothing. Yeah. So these things don't fog up. So they wear the riot thing instead, but you gotta protect yourself.
The funniest one I saw was there was a dude in Walmart, and he took a plastic bag and he put it over his head and he cut out eye holes. It's horrible. It was just horrible. Yeah. Some of the stuff is absolutely, it's sad, but it's absolutely hilarious what people do. I mean, there was another guy that like a pineapple, cut a pineapple in half, cored it out, and just put the pineapple up against it.
This fucking people are crazy, man.
Yeah.
But my girl showed me something today that I never even thought about. She showed me this video of this Chinese woman, and she said, how can you tell if the mask, that everybody wears, the paper one, if that is strong enough or not? And what she did was she took out the one that's blue that everybody wears, and then there's ones that are white. And what she did was she put the mask on, and I should have put it in here. I could have showed everybody, but she takes a lighter and she breathes out through the mask. She goes like this. Oh. And the white one that they sell, the flame does not go out, which means the oxygen is not going out really through that quickly. But when you put the blue one on and you blow on it, the flame goes right out, to show you how thin the material is. So that's kind of a test to see how strong. But the funny thing is, and people could probably search it on YouTube, you'll find the video now, but she puts 2 of those white and blue masks on, and she blows, and the fire doesn't go out. So 2 of those masks seems to be the way to go, not 1.
A lot of people are doing that too. A lot of the homemade masks too, the nicer ones are very good too. I had a lady actually create me a homemade one. I have the double valve ones now too. The double valve masks, they work nice, but I don't like the material. They're like a felt material.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous about breaking them every single time I put them over my ears. Yeah. But the homemade ones with the thick the thick material works perfectly fine.
Yeah, you could rewash them.
These masks, and here's the difference. The N95 masks that everybody's trying to get a hold of, that are almost like illegal to get at this point, those will protect you against other people that have it, because it'll actually filter everything out. But the reason why people are wearing the face masks now are just to protect themselves from coughing on other people.
Right.
Actual discharge.
Right. So, well, I wish everybody continued safety. Thank God we have not had anybody who checks out any of the shows get hit with this directly. I know that some have had family, friends, relatives.
We've had a few friends of the show, DT, that have either been sick, or they have close family members. As a matter of fact, Joe Punches, who is, I think he's a fan of both of our shows.
Yeah, sure.
He just lost his cousin literally the other day to this. So I mean, it is affecting people that are within the 2 degrees of separation of us at this point.
That's why I'm like, it's rough, because I am working right now and everything, but I can't see my family. Things get a little testy with my girl, and I go to my office, and sometimes a customer will come in with no mask or nothing, and I just get that overwhelming feeling. Like they show no signs of being sick, but I just get this overwhelming feeling like, oh my God, I just get really paranoid and stuff like that. It's, but
in PA now, it's illegal to go outside without a mask on.
Oh, really? Wow.
The police catch you. Well, I don't know if you saw the video. The guy on
train?
a bus. It was a bus.
Oh, it was a bus. I thought it was a train.
Yeah, no, there was a guy on a bus who everybody on the bus was wearing masks. And the bus driver said, "Can you please get off the bus because you're not wearing a mask?" And apparently that's one of the control laws that PA has passed. But this guy's wearing a business suit and everything else like that. And he happened to be a black guy. And he said, "No, I'm not getting off the bus." And so he pulled over. I guess transit authority came by and they initially asked him, "Hey, get off the bus. You can't be on here. You're going to get other people sick." He's like, "I don't have COVID virus. I'm not getting off the bus." And so then the police showed up and they forcefully removed him off the bus because he started getting projective. Like he didn't just get angry. He was like pushing the police and everybody away. Like he was already attacking people. And it's like, at that point, it's like, just stop.
Was this the guy wearing the suit?
Yes,
he dropped his cell phone? Yeah, I saw that.
Right, and they kicked his cell phone and stuff like that. But you know what? And there was already people that were trying to turn it into a black and white issue. I'm like, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with everybody out there. Matter of fact, the guy that was filming the whole thing was a black guy and said, "Motherfucker, you should have had a mask on." You
see,
people understand because you're not just putting yourself at risk; you're putting everybody else at risk because you don't want to clash with your suit.
Right.
See,
I agree with you there, but you know how I would have handled it? I was watching live PD last night, and the guy pulled somebody over. He went to school with the guy, but he still wrote him up a ticket. Two black guys. And the guy that was pulled over for speeding didn't have a mask on. And the cop said to him and said, "Do you have a mask?" And he's like, "No, I don't have a mask." He's like, "All right, well, look, give me your license, registration." And he says, "I have an extra mask in the car. When I come back, I'll give you a mask." He gave the fucking guy a mask. What I would have done...
not wearing a mask while you're driving. Do you wear a mask when you're driving?
No. I take it off. But I guess the guy didn't see any mask. I know what it was. If you go back and watch yesterday's live PD, the guy that got pulled over was doing Uber deliveries, and he didn't have a mask. So the cop, horrible. The cop gave him a mask. But the thing is, like, they keep extras in the cars, in the bus. They could. I know, you do it for one, and you got to do it for everybody. But I think the easiest way out would have been, if this guy didn't have a mask because he couldn't get his hands on one. You mean to tell me that the whole bus?
No, I don't think that was the case that he couldn't get his. I'm sure somebody would have given him a mask. He seemed very combative. He seemed like he didn't want to wear the mask. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's different then.
Judge on character, but the reaction wasn't like, "Oh, I would put on a mask, but I don't have one." I mean, that would have been the normal reaction if you don't have a mask.
Right.
I'd wear one if I had one, but I don't have any. Like, that would be more sympathetic. This guy was like, "No, I'm not wearing a mask." It's like...
You know what? Maybe what I'll do is during the show later, I'll go inside, I'll grab the white mask and the blue one. I have a lighter inside, and maybe we'll do the test, see how good the masks are.
Sure.
But
I have a couple different masks. I mean, I actually got them in my car. I leave them. I have masks in my car now.
Yeah, I have them in my car too. I have the really good ones in my car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I got to go to Walgreens.
The door without a mask on,
Yeah. I like what my Walgreens is doing. My Walgreens, they only let 10 customers in at any one time. Okay. As somebody leaves, like you have to form a line outside, but as somebody leaves, they let someone else come in. So this way you're completely separated from everyone.
You've got balls of steel. I will not go into a Walgreens. I will not go into a CVS. I mean, I'm sorry. I know people are like, well, you'll go into a Walmart or a Target. Actually, I don't go to Walmart. You'll go into a Target and stuff like that. The difference is that places like CVS and Walgreens actually have medical testing sites right there. I just think it's a small building with people in it waiting. It's just, I don't know if I'm going to catch something, I'm going to catch it at the place like that. Yeah. As opposed to catching it in a superstore, like a box store, like a Target, where not everybody there is for medical needs. A lot of people there are for food. A lot of people there are for just random stuff. Sometimes they're just there because they want to walk around and get out of their house for a bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas if you're going to Walgreens or CVS, you're going there more often than not for a medical condition than you are to pick up like a deal on Gatorade or something, So.
Yeah, I had to go. I don't have the bruise anymore. Otherwise, I would have showed everybody. I think I might have last week, but I had to go to my doctor last week because I had to get my sleep, my Ambien renewed and my cholesterol medicine renewed.
Don't you do the drive-through?
No, she told me, she's like, you got to come in. We got to do blood work. And I said to her, I said, listen, can you just renew it for a month and then I'll come in next month? And she's like, no, she says, you haven't been here in 3 months. We need you to come in. And I said to her, the last place I want to be right now is in a doctor's office. I had to go.
Right.
I had to go.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I understand.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that are using the drive-through. I think that's the smartest thing you could possibly do. Phone ahead, tell them what medication you need, get the fuck out.
Well, you want to know something? I have, I don't talk about this too much, but I have eczema. I have it. You can't really see it right now, but since I was probably like 15 years old.
Really?
Yeah. This gets red. It's not as bad as what it used to be because I think I might have told everybody this a couple of years ago.
I've seen your clothes. I never would have guessed.
Yeah, no.
You've had a couple times now, and I never would have guessed that you had that.
Before 3 years ago, my skin doctor had put me on this steroid cream for about 10, 15 years. And I started reading online that this steroid cream's only meant to be used a couple of months, and it eats your skin up. And, I would get red over here. And some of you out there may have this problem too with the eczema. I always get in the same spots. I get it here. I get it here and here. That's why I usually keep my mustache so people know. I know I'm kind of embarrassed doing this, but you might be able to see over here a little bit of dryness.
Oh, yeah. You can see
that. I get it over there. I get it behind my ears, and I get it over here sometimes. And he switched me over to this lighter cream, but he told me just wash his face with Noxzema, pat it dry, and use this cream. And, that usually does it.
Clear Burst. I've always used that Clear Burst, the orange stuff.
Yeah.
Really use that stuff, but man, I swear by it. It's got like the little orange beads in it, and you wash your face.
Sure.
It's good stuff.
Sure. It feels like sandpaper, but it takes off all the dead skin.
Yeah, it gets rid of all the blackheads and stuff too, which is great. So,
but early this week, I got my pain medicine renewed, and I got another bottle of skin cream. And both of my doctors did the televisit, connected on the cell phone, and we talked. I don't know why my glass is so foggy, but we talked over the phone, and they asked me like, "You have any problems here, here, here?" And they sent my prescriptions to the pharmacy. I'm like, this is great. I don't even have to go into the doctor's office. That was it. 1, 2, 3. Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's good, dude.
Yeah. Well, listen, we got a bunch of questions to get into. I got to address something. Just want to put it out there. I think some of you, a lot of you will probably be happy about this, even though it's not a happy thing because it's only the second time I've ever had to do it. But, I just wanted to give everybody an update on it. We had a patron by name of Aaron, and he was, he would ask some very long, very detailed questions. Some of them are out there, some of them aren't, but, we always treat everybody's questions the same way. And he was a VIPer for a little while, and then what was happening is he was sending in like really long ass questions, and I guess Kev on his shows, he was dedicating like the last part of his shows towards Aaron and spending about 20 minutes just on his stuff. Yeah. And a lot of people started complaining like, we don't want to sit through 15 minutes of reading questions word for word. So I had sent Aaron private messages about a month ago saying, listen, I got to trim these down a little bit. I said, if I send them whole to Kev will just read them word for word. He doesn't trim them down. I said, I have to trim these down. And he started bitching and complaining and this and that. Then I realized that for 2 months, he wasn't even a VIPer. So his questions shouldn't have even been addressed in the first place. And I'm not cutthroat like that. But the point is that our VIPers, especially them, they're the ones that dictate what these shows are. We don't do these shows just so we could talk. You set the foundation, and what we do is we take your content, and wherever it spawns to, that's where it goes. That's how this goes. You build the foundation of what we're going to talk about, and if it leads to other stories, and so be it. It's not us just talking because we want to, and you just tune in. So anyway, about 2 weeks ago, I put up a poll. asking, our VIPers, and our patrons, what do you want to do with this guy? And I gave 3 choices. Leave him alone. Number 2, give him a warning, condense his questions anyway. If he doesn't like it, he could leave. Or number 3, we remove him. And a lot of people voted, and only by 1 vote did people decide that give him one more chance. That's how many people voted to just remove him, because he was taking up. This is what people need to understand. You and I do Breakfast Soup every other week. And the reason why we do it every other week is because when we do our shows, it's longer than other shows. Yeah. So, the 2 shows we do a month, 2 or 3 shows we do a month, each one is 2.5 hours each. You add the 3 together, that's 5 to 7 hours worth of Breakfast Soup. And I told this a while back, when Kev, started doing his shows, his idea, the original idea was he does his solo show every other week as well. He wanted to do a show with his friend, and he wanted to do a show every week. So instead of 2 shows a month, he wanted to do 4, which we were fine with. So basically, whatever that time is, he's spreading it over 4 shows instead of 2. So the thing is that the fact that Kev's shows are a little bit shorter than ours, but if you add up in a month, it's the same. To have this guy Aaron filling up literally a quarter of the show with his stuff, and then he gets angry saying, I have a right to express myself in this and that. So long story short, he put questions up again this week for Kev's show like this. And I trimmed it down. I kept it fair, but I trimmed it down. And he was complaining about Kev's show. It sucked. It's boring. I didn't get a chance to. And then he did it on mine. But he trimmed his questions down nicely, which I said, okay, this is actually not too bad. But Paul Bielowski likes to submit 7, 8 things. But Paul, 3 or 4 of it is not even like something to discuss. It's just 2 sentences that you just bundle together, and that's half his stuff out of the way. What this guy Aaron did was, because he saw Paul yesterday writing 8 things, he says, oh, well, Paul wrote all these things, so I get to write extra stuff. And I'm like, that's it. I gave him his money back, and he's blocked, and he's gone from the Patreon page. And like I said, I kind of feel bad. I will say this 1,000 times over. Everybody tuning in that has, the VIP that could send in questions, send in whatever you want. Send in 100 things if you want. We know how to condense it, and we know, how to still discuss it. Just when it comes to this guy, though, it was just causing a lot of problems, and a lot of people were complaining, and I gave him 3 chances. And when he started, doing that with Paul, I'm like, look, that's it. I feel bad. I don't like getting rid of anybody, but a lot of people out there were just fed up with it. So I just wanted to just address that, because, again, we do the shows for everybody here. Not everybody likes Kev's stuff. Not everybody likes my stuff. We put a whole bunch of different things on here. All the other shows are ad-free. Whatever we do, try to give a little bit of something for everyone. Nobody's forced to check out every single little detail of content, but we also have a ton of people who send in stuff to be discussed. And it's not fair when one person insists on taking up literally a quarter of the shows. So that's it. I trimmed them down, and people will see tonight when we get into stuff. I guess we could even start getting into stuff now, because it kind of it deals with what's going on now, and it segues into other topics. But, people see that, I don't jip anybody's content. We get into it, but, we know how to trim it down and really focus on what's being said. So, D-Boy Gentleman, here's a good one. How long do you think it'll take before fans are comfortable to go to shows again? Let's just say, hypothetically, and we'll talk about the situation with WWE in a moment, too.
I was going to say, I'm like, technically, what do you mean, next week?
No, well, we'll talk about that, what's going on this week with WWE. But before we do that, let's just say, hypothetically, May 1st, some states can have, gatherings again. And let's say some of these wrestling companies run to those states because they could put on the live shows right now. even let's just use May 1st as a hypothetical. Let's say May 1st, some states are allowed to do shows again, maybe smaller crowds. But so, how long do you think after that before fans are comfortable going to wrestling shows again?
Simple answer, and probably the most legitimate solution. When COVID is no longer a threat in the United States. Not when they start opening up the doors and borders and start, flooding back like toilet paper and masks and everything else like that. But when no states are in the quarantine deadly section, when the state of emergency has been lifted from all of our states. Because right now, DT, every single state is in a state of emergency, is in a national state of emergency, from Alaska to Hawaii. Everybody's in a state of emergency. When every single state has been relieved of that state of emergency, I think then fans will feel better. I'm not saying that people won't immediately go May 1st if they open up the doors to it. Of course, there's always going to be those people. I'm just saying, if you're talking about trying to get back to regular crowds, you're going to have to wait till everybody is comfortable.
Yeah. Now, before we go further with anybody else's questions, let's get into quickly about WWE. WWE, two big stories going around. Number one, some on-air personality that's not a wrestler tested positive for coronavirus.
Yes.
They haven't revealed the name, even though a lot of people have tried to narrow it down to one person, which is Charlie Caruso. We'll get back to that. Second thing going around is a statement that WWE gave to ESPN. They announced that starting Monday, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT are going to be live again. Now, let me read the statement, then we can elaborate on both.
You have to read this.
Yeah.
Because the actual statement itself is insane. I don't know any other way to. It is an insane thing that WWE put out there. And granted, this isn't from Vince McMahon. Like, a lot of people try to say that this was a Vince McMahon statement. It's not. It's from their PR team. And when you read it, people will understand directly it's from some PR snob.
Do you want to read it? Or you want me to read it?
Sure, I can read it.
Right. So, now, let me just say, if this was Vince writing this, Vince's statement would have been simple. It would have been, quote, "Shut up!" unquote.
Right.
But yeah, read the statement.
This was so WWE put out the statement directly to ESPN regarding future shows and regarding how WWE will be handling itself during the midst of the COVID-19. They were quoted as saying, "We believe it is now more important than ever to provide people with a diversion from these hard times. We are producing content on a closed set with only the essential personnel in attendance, following appropriate guidelines while taking additional precautions to ensure the health and wellness of our performers and staff. As a brand that has been woven into the fabric of society, WWE and its superstars bring families together and deliver a sense of hope, determination, and perseverance." Man, I'm so glad that when we won the Gulf War, it was because of those WWE shows. It was because of the hope that WWE provided all those troops.
Do you remember what I said 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and I've been saying it ever since, that WWE thinks that they're the emotional Band-Aid of the world?
Oh, yeah. They're worse than America. They still think that we're in like 1980s Hulk Hogan era. I really think they do. I really think that they're so confused that they still believe that people view WWE the way they did during like WrestleMania 3. It's just not true. It hasn't been like that for years. And as much as people love Cena, Cena's not even the same guy that he was 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Put it this way. Reigns, he ain't going to be there. Daniel Bryan, they recorded some content. What happened to him going into quarantine for 2 weeks? There's some wrestlers that aren't going to be there. I talked about them rotating every other week or two to give people the X amount of days. But the thing is that, this isn't Major League Baseball saying this. This isn't football saying this. This isn't even Disneyland or, a movie studio saying this. This isn't a live TV show saying this. This is a fucking wrestling product that gets 2 to 3 million viewers a week on Mondays and Fridays. It is not
do you think that they provide more content than the NBA, MLB, Disneyland?
No.
I mean, I'm sorry. I think Disneyland brings more smiles to faces than WWE does in 2020.
Well, you know what? This is what I said earlier. And look, everybody has a right to be criticizing WWE right now. Sure. There's a difference between people reacting from what WWE said, which is just insane on their part, out of touch, I think is probably even a better way to put it. And then there's other people that use it as like, oh, let's balk, set up petitions, let's do this, let's do that. And these are the same people that talked about it for Saudi Arabia. But because of some of their favorites are competing in Saudi Arabia, they don't dare go to, I don't want to single out anybody's names, but you look at the internet darlings that wrestle in Saudi Arabia. You don't see these people ever having the balls to go to those wrestlers and saying, how could you go to Saudi Arabia with everything's going on? How could you, I understand, and this is one thing that I will repeat what I said last week. I understand guys like Drake Maverick and Tozawa and a few others who really are just in WWE limbo that are now going to be in a tournament for an interim cruiserweight champion. This time period, it's like you said, all right? You're going to do a little work doing some food delivery. I do some grocery delivery as well. I do a few other things. John Crowd, a lot of you are trying to make it. So, but the thing is that there is some lower talent that this might be their only shot to be able to get a little bit extra time to show WWE and the world, look, I'm fucking worth something. And I actually, so I could see, I could understand why some people will take this and run with it. It's a gamble. It's a risk. They're gambling their health to try to, get a little bit higher on the food chain for WWE. On the flip side of it, though, I look at it like this. What bothers me more than anything is the fact that nobody is blaming Florida. Friday, when I was talking about it Friday, I said, I invite anyone out there, and this was before WWE's statement. I invite anybody out there, look at Governor DeSantis's decisions in Florida. I blame WWE, but I blame Florida 100 times more than I blame WWE, because Florida is the one that's allowing this to go down. If Florida would just tighten up and say, no, man, you're not essential. I know you do a lot for the community. I know that you put in a lot of revenue. I know, WrestleMania and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, you are an entertainment company. You are not an essential employee. This needs to shut down. Florida is not doing that. That's Florida. I put more heat on Florida for doing this than for WWE. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but this is fucking Florida's fault, in my opinion. Florida is letting them skate, and when sometimes you give an inch. There's a saying, sometimes you give an inch and someone will take a mile or take a foot.
Right.
I don't know how you feel about that.
What I understood is that Florida is still fighting against this. While you have the governor of Florida that is apparently allowing WWE to do this, from what I understood, that there's other political pundits that are fighting against WWE doing this. So while it's being passed right now, it could very well be overturned even in the near future, even as little as next week. The idea that WWE has enough clout in order to throw it around and claim themselves. Right now, I don't know if you even talked about that for a second there, but right now they're giving their employees WWE paperwork that they're essential media. So anybody that has to go to WWE tapings, they have the actual paperwork if they get pulled over by police to sit there and say, no, we have a right to be here. We're essential media. But they're not. They're not essential media. And that's where a lot of the people's problems lie. So I don't know what the future holds for this. I don't think that this is set in stone. I think that there's still a lot of people that are clamoring against WWE to just shut it down. But then here's the other thing too, and I don't know if we got into this yet. but Triple H is having his 25th anniversary. And I remember me and you talked before when they did the Stone Cold 316 anniversary, they didn't really do it right because they're still focusing on other matches when they could have had a bye week to pretty much just focus on Stone Cold's career. I have a feeling that this Triple H 25th anniversary is going to be what the 316 should have been, where it's going to be a chance to focus on Triple H's career and maybe a little less about trying to move storylines and getting up network subscriptions. Right now, there are so many different opportunities for WWE to utilize this time and do things differently that don't put anybody at risk. We were even joking tonight about talking about Frank and Gus, talking about them doing a table for three. Why couldn't they do a table for three? Yeah, heck, they could do a table from three at home. And I'm like, it only takes two people to go to these people's houses and set them up. You need one audio guy and one video guy. And from 20 minutes of work, you can put up a backdrop. You can set it up. You can make sure that the camera works right. You don't have to use stupid Skype in 2020. You can set up an actual meeting program. Man. Discord. It's not difficult to do. And we're talking about $1 billion company using the bare bottom elements. It's kind of asinine that
while they have a chance to
reinvent themselves. And here's the other thing, too, that I had a real issue with. WWE forcing wrestling out there today is going to end up doing two things. The first thing it's going to end up doing is it's turning a lot of people off. Not turning them off of WWE, but turning them off of wrestling as a whole, because it's really coming out kind of scummy. And while AEW has nothing to do with WWE and other promotions have nothing to do with WWE, it's still a reflection because WWE is the largest dog in the yard. And what they do is an echoed reflection onto smaller companies. So this is going to hurt other people. And second off, they're going to win as a war of attrition. Because companies like AEW can't keep up with WWE on this level, because other smaller companies can't even perform, don't even have television right now, and everything is put off the books, they're literally going to have to force something or pretty much die while WWE wins all these viewers, per se, because they can't do anything. It's a very bad look all the way around. They're not only risking the talent, they're risking the health of the staff that works there. And it's all done for the sheer ego of Vince McMahon. I mean, if anything, while WWE has won kudos points for different points over the year or over the decades, with everything from like Benoit and even 9/11 to a point, now when they're doing something like this, it looks like it's completely for financial greed. You can't sit there and say that, oh, well, the reason that they went to Saudi Arabia is to raise the American element in Saudi Arabia and try to make things nicey nice between us and the Saudi princes and stuff like that. You can't sit there and say, oh, well, America just got through a horrible tragedy in 9/11 and WWE wants to be the first company out there to kind of change our minds and remind us that we're still Americans and we're having a good time and stuff like that. Now you have a pandemic that is global, that is hurting everybody across the world. Everybody is affected by it. And you're going to run shows in the middle of this pandemic because you believe that you're woven into the fabric of America. That's bullshit. It's absolute greed. And I don't see that anybody with half of a fucking a brain, any kind of like street smarts, any kind of common sense cannot see that this is only about money and it's really putting everybody else's health at risk.
I was just going to ask you this, but you spelled it out perfectly.
Sorry. I went on a little rant there.
Oh, no. That was perfect. If WWE stock right now was $65 a share instead of $30 a share, $35 a share, you think they'd have live TV right now?
I think they'd have live TV no matter what.
Really? You think so?
I think it's that much greed. I've always thought that WWE was a greedy company.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to the things that we talked about with Stephanie McMahon being quoted in a business meeting. Basically, it wasn't a shareholders meeting; it was a sponsor meeting or something like that. Where, once again, and to reiterate a point, I'll keep hammering this point home because it's one of the most disgusting things you'll ever hear out of that woman's mouth. But philanthropy is the future of marketing. Well, this is a perfect example of WWE doing something sheerly for the sake of money. The fans, the roster, the talent, people that work for the company, people that don't work for the company are uncomfortable. They want to be at home with their families. They want to take care of their loved ones. They want to be safe. And WWE, they're really not allowing it. And I know that the policy. I remember. I don't know if you remember it, but a few weeks ago, Triple H was asked about the status of Roman Reigns not being at WrestleMania due to the idea that there may have been something, and he literally tap danced around that question and was stammering
And they let him.
and was lost. And they let him get away with it because it was Triple H, and obviously they were trying to protect him, but at the same time give him a voice. And he did horribly because he knows it's bullshit, and there was no real reason for it. So when one of the heads of your company and a wrestler, has to sit there and lie publicly, he's not very good at it. He's not a McMahon, and I made that joke before too. I'm like, Stephanie could have walked through that interview and just no-sold it and gone through it and had answers for the reason that Roman Reigns was going to be at WrestleMania. Vince McMahon wouldn't have even phased him, But Triple H might be a McMahon, but he's not, And so here you're stuck with realizing that WWE is doing all of this sheerly for the sake of making income when nobody else is, and instead of being humanitarian about it and doing the right thing and sending people home, and just because they could do other things. That's the thing that drives me nuts, DT.
Yeah.
They could play replays of old pay-per-views. They could have, and this was another one of my ideas. Why not get these wrestlers, sit them at home, and have them talk for 3 hours, like a couple different ones or whatever, on a Raw or a SmackDown. Have them talk about their favorite matches, maybe the favorite matches that they were in, and then you go up the matches.
I could tell you what it is. They can't even say the words coronavirus. If you even the statement you read before, they don't even mention that term.
Hard times.
Right. So they wouldn't even allow their talents to simulcast from their house to basically talk about how they're dealing with this and this and that. Again, the lack of PSAs. If WWE truly cared about being role models to the world, the WWE universe, this time right now, I don't think you could be any more of a role model than preventing the accidental death of someone. Bullying is fucked up. Cancer is fucked up. Some of that is beyond our control. Things happen and illness happens. But here is a case where you're always giving advice. Don't drink and drive. Don't do drugs. Don't do things like that. Those things you can do and never die from it. But here is a case where a young person goes out, and I guess we could segue to the other news, goes out, gets a virus, and not intentionally, but shows no signs of it right away, goes home to their mother or grandmother or something, and that could kill them. So if there was ever a time for WWE to be role models to instill in the WWE universe, guys, gals, take videos of yourselves at home, creative. What are you doing to get and just instill home. Not wash these fucking hands. You got to wash your hands every time you take a leak anyway. They are not doing anything right now that echoes role model. They're doing the opposite. Right. They're showing everybody out there that we are more important than the virus. That we are bigger than the virus. They're not cops. They're not nurses. I've been saying this for a month. Me as a wrestling fan, I'll take whatever we get, but they're not essential employees. And again, Florida won't bunker down on this. Florida is allowing them to do this.
I'm really sticking behind the idea that Florida is a mixed bag right now. I think you're absolutely right that unfortunately the people that are in top power seem to be in favor of WWE. But if there's a lot of people underneath that top power that's saying this is a bad idea, they might switch their tune.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult for Florida to turn around and go, yeah, well, we're revoking that. Because they are putting themselves at risk. They're putting other people at risk.
But you see, here's the problem with that. Let's say, I won't use any individual person. Let's just say Joe Blow is going to wrestle live on SmackDown this week and then comes down with coronavirus. If Florida does anything about it, they should not be making mandates towards individual companies. It's supposed to be an overall broad spectrum. Like, only essential employees allowed to work. Here in New York, it's plain, cut and simple. They posted on their website, only essential employees are allowed to work right now. Who is an essential employee? You go on the website and it says police officers, bankers, post office, nurse, grocery, food industry, cooking. There's a list. If you don't make that list, then you're not an essential employee. So I just can't see Florida saying to WWE, okay, that's enough. Because
here's the thing: is what they're doing is WWE is going through the lines because they're classifying themselves underneath the same level as the news.
They're not news. It's entertainment.
I know they're not news. You know they're not news, but that's how they're doing it. It's dirty. That's what I'm saying. It's all about money. It's dirty. They're not doing this underneath the guise of being a sports program. They're doing it. They're getting away with this elite status because they're classified underneath the same level as news, and it's like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Tommy, I agree with you, man. You look at who's considered essential in Florida. That list is so fucking broad. It's like,
right.
I said this Friday. DeSantis is petrified of tanking the economy in Florida, so he's trying to make his cake and eat it too. He's trying to dodge it, skate it. You give those beaches were like the perfect example of it. You allow an inch, people are going to take a foot. You give that false sense of security that things are better. And I guess we could segue to this. Now, I don't know if it's 100% confirmed that it's her, because there's other interview personalities on WWE television, without naming any names. But everybody seems to be focused on Charlie Caruso as the one who caught coronavirus. Now,
let's clarify something really quick before you get too further into Charlie Caruso on this. There was a lot of people that were led to believe it was Jerry Lawler. I think Jerry Lawler did an interview earlier in the week or a couple days ago or whatever, pretty much saying he's okay.
Yeah.
So over the people that
he'll be on Raw Monday. He's going to be on Raw Monday. Yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying, people thought it might have been Jerry Lawler for a minute, and they clarified that. So for anybody that was worried about Jerry Lawler coming down with COVID, no, it's not Jerry Lawler.
See, this is the thing. This is how I look at it. We're in the internet age where people are posting videos where they're like with no makeup, and then they do one of these, and then they come back and they're all in their outfits. People are posting fucking playing with their dogs. People are posting dancing in bikinis and stuff. The fact that Charlie Caruso didn't immediately go out there and say, listen, guys, before this snowballs into something huge, I'm fine. I don't have coronavirus. Everybody, please stay safe. End of story.
They don't want her to say the word. They don't want her
Well,
to
that's what I'm saying. The fact that she hasn't cleared that up makes me.
That's not her, dude. That's not her.
That's my point. That's my point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, the story is that whoever this person was went out to dinner on March 26th with a friend, and they were with two other people that worked in the healthcare industry, and this person did not feel well the next day and then ended up going to a doctor and took the test, coronavirus.
Right.
My reaction to that was, I don't blame, if it is Charlie Caruso, I don't blame her at all. Because the thing is, see, I know podcasters, some of them today were writing, what is she fucking stupid to go out to dinner with a healthcare person? Do you see what fucking is going on? Here's the thing. Almost everybody that said that, no, I totally respect what those people saying. But my point is, almost every single person that said that does not live in Florida. And you go back to March 26th, which I remember clearly, it was the day before my birthday. You look at how Florida was treating everything. I mean, it was right before that they pulled WrestleMania, that they were. So the thing is that in Florida, they didn't stop going out to dinner. So if the government didn't stop it, she wasn't doing anything wrong. I understand she should have been more careful, this and that.
The circumstances changed. I mean, that's the big thing too, is that different states are affected differently, or it started affected the affection. How do I put this? the way that states handled the COVID initially was completely different. The way that Illinois handled it, the way that New York handled it, the way that Washington State handled it, they were all completely different. Right. Florida also was different. They did not have the same laws that were put into place that Pennsylvania did or New York did, et cetera, et cetera. So while people are getting upset about that, you have to understand reality-wise, at that point of time, what she was doing was considered safe by Florida state law.
Yeah. See, this is the thing, too. A week before they stopped the restaurants, everything here in New York, I remember going on one of my Twitter videos, and I said the day before, me and my girl, we went out for breakfast and this and that. That was right before they shut everything down. And my point is, we took precautions. We weren't around anyone, and but we felt that we were safe. That's why we did it. Charlie Caruso, or whoever it was, you got to think of the mindset of Florida, March 26th. You had this was right around the time of spring break, and the beaches are still doing the stuff they're doing. And this is Florida's fault. By Florida not stopping the restaurants at that time, by Florida not emptying the beaches at that time, by Florida not stopping WWE.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And all those events that were around WrestleMania, look how long it took them, DT.
Yeah. So Florida is giving this false sense of security to a lot of people. You're an elderly person, and you're in Florida, and you're like, man, you see what's going on in New York? That's terrible. Thank God that's not around here. And then you go out to eat because the restaurants are open. This isn't bad over here. Look, we're allowed to still do this stuff. We're okay. That's the mindset of a lot of people in Florida at that time. So going out to eat, sure, when we're in New York, and we look at the healthcare workers here being surrounded by COVID nonstop, if you're in Florida at that time, even if you're around healthcare people in Florida, we have virtually no cases of COVID. So why would I think that a Florida worker, they're showing no signs of being sick. So why would I think that person would be sick? This is all, at the end of the day, Florida. It's Florida is the one at fault here. And Florida should have just let the hammer down. WWE, listen, but you see how much money WWE puts in that community and the power of the McMahon, because nobody in Florida's government has the balls to go to the McMahons and say, listen, I know you were a very important part of, our territory, our city, our town, but at the end of the day, your entertainment, you're not news, you're not essential.
No, of course not.
And they won't do that.
No, of course not, because that's what they're pushing right now. That's why it's going to take all the people that are surrounding the governor, that are surrounding the political powers in Florida, to keep pushing until they change their mind.
What's going to needs to happen? No, it needs to happen. Same thing I said 2 weeks ago. Somebody big has to get tested positive for corona. Not a Charlie Caruso, but a main big guy, big wrestler, a big name.
I think they'd hide it though, DT. Honestly, like let's say for example, let's say for example, Vince gets it. You think they're not going to hide the shit out of that?
It's funny. People were saying all this stuff. Look, and I'm probably wrong, and I don't mind being wrong, but people were saying all this bullshit rumors, which we never covered, that Brock Lesnar got into a confrontation with Vince behind the WrestleMania tapings. Right. How do we even know Vince was there? I mean, has there been any signs of Vince being in Florida? Huh?
No, I don't think he was. But
no,
I did find out something about WrestleMania that people didn't know and that people didn't report. WrestleMania was filmed at 4 a.m.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Wow.
4 a.m. Because during the Edge and Orton match, it was so dark outside. And then I forgot exactly which other match it was, but it was daylight. It was sunrise. So the reason why all those commentators and everything else was dead is because it must have been like 4 or 5 a.m. when they were taping WrestleMania.
Wow. Because
at the end of the night, by the main event, that's when the sun was just peaking. It was like first dawn. It's like, wow. No wonder everybody sounded like shit. They were tired.
Yeah. And if they, that's the thing too, like they're going to go live this week. They're still going to show repeats of other matches from yesteryear. It's not that you're going to get 3 straight live hours of programming Monday night. They're going to have, an hour and a half live, and you're going to have some stuff filled in as well, just like they did that first SmackDown when, they had the commercial break and everybody posted online about Bayley and, they had, they all stopped wrestling during the commercial break. So it's still going to be a lot of filler, but at the end of the day, either the government or a big name getting hit with the virus is the only way this shit's going to stop.
Yeah.
And it's just the way
Scary,
it is. Man. Yeah. So
let's get more questions.
Yeah, getting back to the questions, talking about the virus still. By the way, shout out to Naeem Khalifa, our latest associate producer. Trump's secret gay lover. Do you think that social distancing is only going to last until the pandemic is over, or do you think people will still practice social distancing after the pandemic is over and the virus is gone?
I don't think social distancing will last, but I think you're still going to see people out there with masks on. It's a major part of Asian culture, China, Philippines, even Japan, where you'll see people in everyday commerce walking around still wearing masks. I think that this might have been an alteration to our social culture here in America, and I think you might see people walking around with masks after the coronavirus is gone.
I think we'll see more elderly doing that than anything.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I think you'll see definitely parts of the population. Kids, no, of course not. Teenagers, young adults, there's still going to be young adults, and wearing a mask isn't cool. But I think for the most part, people that have been sick, people that are immunocompromised, people that are elderly, you might see more of those people walking around with masks.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tweak his question also. Favorite pandemic-based movie. Pandemic-based movie. I guess it would be like an outbreak movie. Any favorite outbreak movies or any go-to programming right now since with the pandemic?
I think I'd have to go with the TV show that's gone on for 10 years, The Walking Dead.
Oh, Walking Dead. Okay, yeah.
Fantastic first few seasons. It was an amazing show, and even the comic books and the stories, those are all very good. I think they've shit the bed a little bit. They've jumped the shark, but the initial story, the first few seasons, very good. Very good stuff.
Yeah, I was never into those pandemic movies, but right now, I said it before, Live PD is my go-to to just watch marathons or stuff like that. But, wrestling, I try to catch whatever I can right now and make the best of it. But, I'd rather just keep my mind off of wrestling as much as possible because it does, it's just a fucked up time. But Jeffrey Collins, and this good segue, besides working and doing the podcast, what else has been your activities during this pandemic? Well,
obviously I've been doing a lot with the shows and stuff like that. Other than that, I've been doing a little bit of wheeling and dealing online. And like I was telling people earlier, I've been trying to help out friends of the show and my personal friends and family. And I've been getting people things that I can get in this area that they can't. So that's kind of, I know it sounds silly, but that's kind of been taking some of my the time off my mind. I've also been revisiting some shows. I watched some Tiger King. I've been watching a little bit of House. Other than that, constructively, I started putting up one of the walls of the actual soundproofing.
The sound barriers.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of that. I had a couple of desks that I've already assembled for the front room. So it's still kind of building up everything. Other than that, as far as the shows are going, people know that I've been working on the special. I've been going into old episodes, pulling out old clips and trying to clean them up. And I'm going to have a huge 10-year anniversary special. Not the show that we did. We did the 10-year show, but it's going to be a special collection from over the years, and obviously interviews with yourself, interviews with Joe and myself and John and everybody else, Andrew Carluck and everybody else that we've had attached to the show over the years at different points of time. And also all of the listeners that have left messages on SpeakPipe. So it's a compilation process. It's going to take a little bit of a while. I'm trying to get it done before next Thursday, but realistically, I think it's going to go a little longer than that. but I'm going to be very proud of it because the funniest thing too is that every time I turn around, it's like the list keeps getting larger and larger. Like, oh God, so much to look for. But I think it's going to be a very long show. I mean, I'm estimating now it's going to be about 4 hours.
That's good.
Realistically, it could be 6. It could be a 6-hour show. So
that's awesome, man. That sounds like something to really be. I mean, should be proud for 10 years anyway. But yeah, you told me on the side a little bit of what you're planning. That sounds epic, man. Hey, perfect time to do it. You know, it's a shame it's got to be under these circumstances, but me,
I'm okay with it though.
yeah. Me, you know, as far as putting other stuff, you know, I've been trying to like clean my house a little bit more, you know, just a little fine tooth than I usually do. You know, I'm doing taxes for people still. I've been getting inundated with insurance claims. A lot of people trying to get business interruption coverage, which is not that easy because coronavirus wasn't covered before. Doing grocery deliveries on the side. My father's store, thank God, you know, he is crazy busy right now, and his biggest competitor just went out of business 2 months ago. So he's capitalized on that big time, but they get so inundated with grocery deliveries, especially because Amazon Fresh is not delivering around here. So I've been actually doing that on the side as well. And it's pretty funny because I've already had 3 grocery deliveries where I ended up delivering to people's houses who are customers of mine with insurance. Not even realize it. Just ring the bell and like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm doing some deliveries on the side. And he's like, shouldn't you be in your office? But so that's been fun. But, you know, it is kind of draining.
Sure.
You know, just the taxes, the deliveries, the shows, insurance. Because my insurance, I still got to work, you know. But I'm trying to, like, balance it out. Half in my office and half at home. Like, I go home at 1. Sometimes I stay. Thursday, I had to go back because I left a little bit early than usual. But, you know, Joseph Nicoluk.
I just want to explain really quickly. You know I've been looking at my phone a little bit. My brother back in Chicago and stuff like that, you know, he has the family over and they're all wishing me happy Easter right now. So I don't want to be like rude, but it's like everybody's wishing me happy Easter and, oh, hey, how are you doing? Can you take a call? And it's like, no, I can't take a call.
You could go right now for a little bit.
I have a friend upstairs who made me an Easter dinner, and she left it on the porch. So it's
if you want to go for a little while, I could take the helm over here.
I'll be right back. I need to go to the front door for a second, but yeah, I'll be right back. I just wanted to explain it to you so you don't think I'm just
No, that's fine. There's a couple of questions directed towards me only, and I'll bang them out right now. Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, take your time, man. Take your time.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Joseph Nicoluk, do I feel that have I seen a large increase or decrease in insurance claims during the pandemic? Number one, the hardest part of my insurance business right now has been the fact that I have lost a decent amount of customers. Tommy, my father's store is pretty stocked, pretty good. They have a lot of limitations like toilet paper, like they have packages of 6. They're only limited to 1 person. But then what happens sometimes is a husband and wife will come in together and they'll go online separately. So one gets a roll and the other one gets a roll. The biggest item that people seem to be buying is chicken cutlets. And my father has it limited to 3 pounds a customer. Some people will buy like 10 pounds of chicken cutlets, and they always slice it on demand, so it takes some time. They're trying to get people in and out as quickly as possible. Plus, with the social distancing, my father's store is pretty small already. It only has technically 4 aisles total, including the deli meat aisle. So you take away the deli meat aisle and the dairy aisle, they only have 2 aisles. So, you know, but they have pretty much, you know, normal stock. You know, you get little things here and there that are sold out at times, but as far as insurance, I've lost a couple of big customers already because they just can't afford the insurance. And it's not just, we could go back to work May 1st. Some of them, you know, just it's going to take them a very long time to recover, and they have just totally shut everything down. See, the thing in New York over here is they have decided that nobody cancels within the next 2 months. They're giving everybody an extra 30 or 60 days to pay their insurance bills. The problem is that you still have to pay that money back. Just like rent. Some people, actually like 80% of New Yorkers stop paying their rent the month before. And the biggest problem I've had was elderly people, because elderly customers stop paying their rent to their tenants. And I got into an argument with two different customers. One was a friendly one. The other one was a little intense. And one said to me, I think I might have mentioned this last week on one of the shows, but one of the customers said to me, like, what happens if I stop paying my landlord rent right now? And I said, you can't be evicted right now, but whatever money you owe for the month of March or April, you're going to have to pay that eventually. There's no months free out of this. And then I said to the person, I said, why are you not paying the rent? See, this is the thing too. And this is why, again, no disrespect to other people out there, but it may sound intelligent on social media, but most people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. When you talk about people that are not affected by this, it's not just nurses, cops, essential employees. You know who's not affected as much right now either? Elderly people. Elderly people that don't work anymore, they're still getting their Social Security check. They're still getting their pensions. The only thing they're having a little bit more of a difficult time doing is buying some groceries, doing some errands. But as far as a financial hit, the United States and the world is on a standstill right now. For elderly people that are retired, what have they lost financially? Seriously, what have they lost? So, you got to look at things like that. But as far as insurance goes, I'm not going to lie. I applied for the SBA loan, and I'm pissed off right now because I applied on my birthday, March 27th, and they were talking about how, 1-2 day turnaround, and I sat for 10 days. No response whatsoever. I tried calling the SBA twice. I got held on hold, and I just couldn't stay on hold anymore. And then finally, about a week ago, this was around April 5th, I get a message saying that I need to reapply now through a different website. So that 10 days that I wait, and the reason why I applied for the loan is because, a lot of you know this already, I owe $5,000 to IRS because of Patreon. And I just got that settled out. I still got to pay that. Sure, I have until July now to do it, but still, I got to come up with that. Some of my big customers in my insurance office have canceled, so eventually I'm going to have to pay all that commission back. I got credit card debt and other things going on, so my thinking is have a little bit of a cushion in my office for those months that I got to try to get new customers. And I'm still in limbo over here. So, it's rough across the scope, but the business interruption insurance stuff right now is the most difficult because I keep explaining to customers, I'm like, look, we can file a claim, give it a shot, but there's no guarantee they're going to get it. And they're like, why am I not entitled to it? I said, because coronavirus before this year was never something that would be labeled as a pandemic. People looked at a flu. We never had something like this. So you never expected a government shutdown as a result of this. So we're in uncharted waters. Now, a lot of insurance companies have now added coronavirus as being a covered peril, if you know what that means. But in January, February, that was not a covered peril. So I'm getting a lot of bullshit from a lot of customers right now. Few of them that have kind of like not come out and said it, but kind of accused me of not giving them the proper coverage. Like, why wasn't I covered for this? I'm like, there was no coverage for this. So, it's a little stressful, but it is what it is. I don't take it personal. I just try to get through with it and, deal with it that way. And guys, I am just right now because, it is Easter and Mish is got a few things. He'll be back in a little bit. What I'm doing is I'm going through the questions right now that were directed straight to me. And this way, when Mish comes on, we could finish the rest of them. But here's one. Spider Lewin. He's been reading about a guy named John Favara. Went missing from Howard Beach. Had links to organized crime and John Gotti. Is this a case I'm familiar with? He'd be interested in if I knew about the case. Now, I did not Google this beforehand to see which person you're talking about. Ironically, last night, anybody know that's listening, that's viewing live right now, anybody know the name of that cable channel that does like a lot of like documentaries and gangster documentaries? It's like 3 letters. It's like AHC or something like that. I don't remember the name of the channel. They do a lot of mafia documentaries. Last night, around 2, 3 in the morning, I couldn't fall asleep. And I'm going through the TV, and sure enough, there's a John Gotti documentary on. You could go back to last night's listings, you'll see it. It was like John Gotti something. It was a 1-hour special. And it was funny because they had a lot of clips. All right. Oh, wow, I got it right. I'm surprised. I never heard of this network before. Tommy's right. He says I'm right. AHC it was called. And they were showing clips when I said 101st Avenue when I was a member of John Gotti's club for one day. They actually showed the building. They showed the fireworks that we used to go. Everything I used to say we're growing up down Tony, they actually showed a couple of clips, which I thought was cool. But, I watched the documentary for an hour, and halfway through, I'm like, okay, I get it now. The whole idea of this documentary is to basically say that John Gotti was a clown, that the power went to his head and he's wearing all the suits and everything. He kind of like almost looking like Brody Lee, just not killing people. But I watched this documentary yesterday, and it was funny because I had just finished saying, I think on Friday, when I was talking about Dark Side of the Ring on the Don Tony show, that, I've seen a dozen John Gotti documentaries over the years. Some of them are terrible, but I watch it anyway just to watch it. And that's what I say about Dark Side of the Ring. You may not like some of them might be garbage, but you watch it anyway. But the John Favara guy, I think what I'll do is when Mish comes back on, I'll do a quick Google search to see if it's this person that we're talking about. But I'll tell you one that I'm very familiar of, and this is something I plan on doing. I have a GoPro. I have never used it. I think it's the GoPro 5 or something like that. I've never used it. I have the connection to mount it to my car. I have the hat. It connects to the hat because I wanted to do cooking stuff. But a lot of you have requested me to give a tour of my neighborhood. Show everybody where John Gotti used to live. Show everybody where they found all the dead bodies that were in the boondocks. Show everybody where, unfortunately, that jogger, the person who was friends with my family, the one that got murdered, what was her name? Katrina? Oh, my God, I'm drawing a blank. I feel bad because her father's close to my father. But, just show different areas. Show, where my neighborhood, where I live, just a whole bunch of things. Some of you wanted me to drive down 101st Avenue and show where the club used to be and all that stuff. So, long time ago, there was a guy that lived in the neighborhood. I don't know if it's John Favara, but you know what? I'll tell this story really quick, and then I'll look it up when Mish is talking. Vetrano, yes, Karina Vetrano. Thank you. Yeah. But I would never walk into the trail where she was found. I would just show, it's creepy because it's literally 90 seconds from my house. That's how close it is. I could literally jog there and I can't run. But there was a story a very long time ago where John Gotti had a kid. I don't know if it was son, but he had a kid. And the story was that this guy accidentally ran over his kid with his car. And and the guy just disappeared. To this day, they don't know where he is. I don't think that's the person you're talking about, but I'll look up John Favara. I definitely know who you're talking about, but there's been so many stories like that I'll look up his name And then I'll tell you what I have heard from that story. I mean, put it this way: don't expect anything revealing because if I had something revealing, FBI would be on my door asking me about it. But
Right.
yeah. So, Mish, for you, who would win in a podcast battle, Lindsay Kelk or Conrad?
Wow.
That's
Taking
from
two of
Joseph
my favorites.
Nicolak. Lindsay Kelk. Why does that name not sound familiar to me?
Lindsay Kelk is the lady who did Tights and Fights that pretty much synonymously blasted all wrestling fans and indie promoters and indie wrestlers that tried to correct her on her stance that why is AEW using the big man, little man fight between Marco Stunt and Lance Archer. She believed that Marco Stunt should have won that initial match with Lance Archer.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh, what a dumb bitch. I'm sorry,
Right.
man. I saw that. She got offended because of the size difference. Oh, fuck her.
She said that AEW is not being progressive enough. If she wanted to watch this, she would watch like
Fuck
80s
outta here.
WWF, WCW. And she went on to her show and she continued to blast people. Pretty much, look, there's nothing wrong with being wrong if you can accept that you're wrong. And she refused to accept other people that are in the business, that have been wrestling for years. She refused to take their advice and their input, and she stuck to her guns. And so she doubled down, and now she looks like a complete fucking moron.
You know what I would do?
Conrad is a different case. Conrad,
He's a hustler. Come on, man. We know
Yeah.
podcasters that are hustlers. Come on. There's one guy right now that's just, you can see like a vulture over dead meat. He's hovering around a few podcasts. He's like, yo, I'll take care of you. No, it's nobody that on our inner circle. I just want to make that clear. Nobody in our extended podcast family. There are some podcasters out there that are like vultures, like trying to look for some dead, prey to fall on. So Conrad's a hustler.
I definitely know. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one way to put it in a positive light. I look at it more like a vulture as opposed to a hustler. A hustler is somebody that's getting paid and making numbers and getting other people paid. Conrad's not about that, in my opinion. He's just about picking the bones of what's already dead. So I don't know. Between the two, I probably have more respect for Lindsay Kelk. Even though she's completely wrong,
She's just
at least she has
misdirected.
right. It's just we're just talking about her perception of what makes good wrestling is wrong, which is fundamentally an opinion, even though it's based upon 100+ years of wrestling theory in practice.
David versus
that
Goliath.
Yeah, well, it goes even right. You can go all the way back if you want, but that's where the story originates: is the David versus Goliath. People want to see the underdog beat the big guy eventually, but nobody expects that the little guy is just going to win the first fight.
Right. It's a fluke. It happens once in a blue moon. It's like 100-year storm. Holy shit. David won.
Right.
If David won every time, you know what AEW should do? They should get a jobber, a female jobber, call her Lindsay, and have her destroyed by Nyla Rose. Call her like Lindsay Elk.
Great.
Lindsay Elk.
Right.
Have her get destroyed by Nyla Rose. Seriously. I want to see what she has to say to that. But by the way, always got to stick to my instinct. John Favara was, in fact, the guy that disappeared for running over John Gotti's 12-year-old kid. Knew the name was familiar. I just did a quick Google check.
Right.
Yeah, that's the truth. The thing is that the guy ran over John Gotti's kid. It was an accident. The problem is from the neighborhood over here, the problem was that the guy felt terrible for it. But the thing is that at that time, John Gotti was not the head of the Gambino crime family. And basically word started getting around to this John Favara, like, yo, you don't know who the fuck kid you ran over. And he's like, look, it was an accident, this and that. And basically family members were going up to Favara's house, I think cursing his wife out, threatening him and this and that. And instead of just picking up and moving, they scared him. They told him, like, look, you got to get out of here. And he refused to move, and then he disappeared. Infamous story. You want to go back? I don't know, Mike, if you still have a newspaper's account. Infamous story. People get a kick out of this. You never probably ever heard this story before. I remember it. In the 80s, there used to be a video movie rental store next door from my father's deli. My father, when he bought the deli in March of 82, it used to be called All-Star Deli. And right next door used to be a video movie store where you could rent movies. The Video Connection, I think it was called. You could do a Google search, you'd probably find it. And what happened was Video Connection went out of business. Blockbuster Video was rumored to be setting up shop on Cross Bay Boulevard. And what happened was, I don't know if it was Gotti, but somebody was involved in a big video movie store in the neighborhood as well. And there was rumors that Blockbuster Video was coming to Howard Beach. And whoever was going to own this Blockbuster Video, they sent them a letter, an anonymous letter in the mail. You ain't fucking opening that Blockbuster Video. Next thing you know, you see a big sign on the window, coming soon, Blockbuster Video. They blew up the guy's mailbox. And they said, if you don't fucking shut that Blockbuster Video, you're next. Then I think this was right around the same time where Gotti started getting arrested for other things, and the rest was history. But yeah, they did some crazy shit, man. They scared the shit out of you. You have no idea. But yeah, Favara was the guy that ran over John Gotti's 12-year-old kid and disappeared. That happened in 1980. So, there's a little piece of history. I'll talk about it on another show. Maybe one of my solo shows, a little bit more about the Gotti stuff. I do get a lot of negative feedback. Like, the fuck you keep them on your shirt. I took the license plate down because it was offending a lot of people. But, there's a side of him that we knew personally. Members of his family went to my wedding. Of course, I don't want to be around murder and corruption and drugs and this and that. But there was a lot more of it than just that. Why do you think Growing Up Gotti was a popular reality show? These are people who are directly related to the guy. But we'll talk about that another time. Diogo, I'm a little offended, my friend. He told me he wanted to ask you, would Pizzeria Uno be interested in sponsoring Evil Uno? I have been. Your mic is muted, my friend. Yeah, your mic is muted. That's all right.
That's brilliant.
I'm a little offended, man. I've been calling him Evil Pizza Uno since he first came in and his tits were jiggling on AEW. But so what have you said about Evil Uno that led to Pizzeria Uno?
No, I think that's just a brilliant comparison. I think that's if AEW probably needs a sponsorship, or if this guy wants a sponsorship, maybe every time they zoom in on him during the shows, maybe he should be eating a slice. I'm just saying.
I know. It's like fits perfect. Evil Uno, Evil Pizza Uno.
Writes itself.
They could even come out with a special pizza, from Pizza Uno, the Evil Uno. It's like, just think about that. You know what? I just spawned a question. We got to bring this up online. Pizza Uno should come out with their own pizza called the Evil Uno. And when you think of Evil Uno, what do you think of? Hot sauce?
Sure. Yeah. You can get spicy.
Yeah.
Put some green in there because he wears green. So you got to put peppers?
What's that? Chimichurri sauce? I don't know if chimichurri is spicy or hot, but some like
no. I'm thinking about like
jalapenos.
Maybe like a jalapeno, but maybe like more like a sport pepper or something like that. Maybe nothing too spicy. But yeah, you could totally do that. Make a spicy pizza.
Yeah. And he wants to know from me my favorite soup moment over the last 10 years, and I cannot choose Sunny. Look, the Sunny stuff is not the greatest work that they have done because they've had some incredible arguments, debates, discussions about so many topics over the years. The reason why I always said Sunny was the funniest was because, number one, for the life of me, I cannot understand why the porn company or Sunny did not send them cease and desist. It'll never leave my memory, just them repeating over and over again, Oh my God. It takes a lot for me to laugh. And I swear on my mother, this is not a joke. And I brought this up before. Captain Lou Albano, when he was alive, he would always talk about the medulla oblongata, which I always believed was a part of your head that, would swell. And I laugh, if you get me laughing to the point where it hurts, there's a part of my head that swells up. My medulla oblongata, it swells up, and it feels like a bump on my head. And that night was one of the rare nights that I just could not stop laughing. That queefing.
It was so silly. I mean, the whole thing was silly. It was really cool when we did it too, because it wasn't the first porn that we reviewed. I mean, people may not remember, but I mean, obviously we did the one with the Air Fox, which is Candy Had to Go. We also did a couple of Chinas, and there was somebody else that we did too in between there. And we were always reviewing weird things just because that's what we like to do.
Well,
but this one was such a big one because for so many years, people always were like, oh, man, Sonny, if I could have just gotten a shot at Sonny. Man, Sonny would have been great in a porn. And so we finally get Sonny in a porn. And we just dissected the thing from top to bottom, and it was just hilarious. And it just couldn't have come at a better time, no pun intended, when she just farted all over the dude. And then we had, and people forget this too, but I thought he was great. We had Derek Pierce on,
right? You
who was
interviewed him.
the guy that was in the actual film with her, like a couple weeks later. And that dude was so down to earth. He was fucking funny as hell. One of the better interviews that we've done too, so.
One of my favorite non-wrestling things that you guys did is when you did that segment about that girl with the unibrow that got in jail for texting her boyfriend to kill him, talking him into killing himself.
Oh, Michelle. Shoot. I forgot.
Yeah.
They did a big HBO special on her and stuff too.
Yeah, someone will post it in the chat, her name. But the reason why that fascinated
Michelle
me
Carter.
is,
Thank you, Mike.
yeah, you talked about it for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I said, wait a minute. I just tuned into an episode of Soup, and for almost an hour, all it was talked about is Michelle Carter. And I'm like, that's when and I'm not just saying this kiss your ass. That's when when you got something special with a show. That especially a wrestling Soup. It's not just about wrestling, but the fact that you could talk for 45 minutes about a girl with a funky eyebrows who's texting her boyfriend to kill himself. And like, I could have sat there and listened to another 45 minutes. That was, that was something special.
Joe is fantastic. I mean, me and Joe play very well off of each other, to the point where we can finish each other's sentences or we can be on completely opposite sides of the coin. And, at the end of it, whether you agreed with one of us or disagreed with us or whatever, usually for the most part, people at least understand where we're coming from. It's not a lot of hearsay or anything like that. A lot of it is opinion. And that's what our show is. Our show is very heavy on opinion. But we like to, and this is just, the formula that I've always seen from us over the years, is it's not just a random mindless opinion. We'll back up our opinion with logic, or at least the logic that we play along to with the crowd. Right. We want them to follow along with us and at least understand where we're coming from. Yeah. And dissecting things, we've always been very good at that. I don't know if it's just because of how we were both raised, but we can just dissect stuff and to its bare roots. John is very good at that too. John has the ability to dissect things as well, which is why he was a great addition to Wrestling Soup over the years. So I think that's the one thing that I've always been proud of for the show itself, is that we were able to just bear everything, for what it is. So, and people enjoy that apparently for 10 years. So
Miro wants to know, which was the better gimmick for the late William Moody? Is trash talking Percy Pringle in World Class or Paul Bearer?
Paul Bearer.
Yeah.
Paul Bearer. Look.
Oh, yeah.
Percy
I used to be
Pringle,
able to do a good one.
Yeah. Percy Pringle was great, but that wasn't him. Paul Bearer, he fit that. Gosh, I remember when I first saw him when he was doing Primetime Wrestling. It was an episode of Primetime Wrestling when you first saw him in more of a candid role, because before that you saw him, actually in the arena. You saw him at the Survivor Series, but you never actually got a chance where you saw him one-on-one. and I think it was Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan were there. And even though Undertaker at the time was playing the heel and Paul Bearer was the heel, Bobby Heenan was great and kept cracking jokes on Paul Bearer about what a creepy ass he was and everything else like that. And Paul Bearer is like walking through and this was when they had like primetime wrestling, but they had the audience. Like there was different incarnations of primetime wrestling. The ones that people remember the best, I think, were when they actually had the round table.
Right, the round table, Hillbilly Jim, and yeah.
Right. And then they started making the table bigger, and then they have Perfect, they'd have Hillbilly Jim, they'd have Roddy Piper. But there was a point after that, I think before they really get graduated to Raw, when they had like a few rows for audience members that they would allow in, like a candid TV studio. And this was one of those episodes, and I forgot exactly when it aired, but they brought in an actual casket. And Paul Bearer and Undertaker showed up there. And Paul Bearer was working on the casket or something like that. And it was so amazing how creepy and enthralling he was, and that character just exuded. It was like you got to see what it was like to see Paul Bearer in person, and he was just as creepy in person as he was when he was presented as a manager on television. Yeah, like his persona was always Paul Bearer, and I fucking love that. And over the years too, all the different angles that he was with as a part of The Undertaker, and even just being the guy walking around with the urn, that meant so much to the Undertaker character. I mean, could you imagine the early stages of Undertaker's career if he didn't have that urn to work off of?
Yeah.
I mean, that was half of the gimmick right there. Was yes, Undertaker was this dead man and everything else like that, and he was creepy and spooky. But you got Paul Bearer out there chanting and shaking the urn and everything else like that. And Undertaker, a guy who should have his ass kicked through the fucking mat, all of a sudden sits right up like there's nothing wrong. And that was amazing to fans. That was amazing to me as a young fan too.
Yeah. The brother love early on did not fit. It was a little confusing. It just felt like a random manager, but Paul Bearer, they just...
And when they tried with the Ted DiBiase and the Underfaker stuff.
Oh, yeah, Brian Lee. Sure.
So bad.
By the way, we were talking about the Evil Uno pizza before. I like that Mad Max chorizo. Yes, there has to be creepers on the pizza. Unfortunately, I don't think you could make it in the shape of bugs. It would be too expensive and take too long. But I could see putting little like pieces of chorizo sausage on there and calling it like little creepers or something. Yeah, it could be something good. Anna, what's up? Don Tony's political advisor. Would the deli man ever do a deli yard match instead of a backyard match? I would do a deli yard match. There'd have to be like lots of props, cold cuts, you use vegetables. I mean, the Italian bread when I would definitely do that. It actually sounds like fun, but it wouldn't be like in a park or a graveyard. It'd have to be like in a deli. Seriously. You take out a bucket of potato salad and you just shove the person's head in the potato salad. You just get like lettuce and just rake them in the face with the lettuce. Better yet, you just grab like one of those white onions that that son of a bitch would hurt, and you just rub it in the person's eyes. I mean, you take that off the shelf and you rub raw onion in someone's eyes. I mean, that visual is just perfect, and that person would really probably be crying from it. I'd love to do that. Absolutely. Mish, do you think you'll ever have a wrestling alter ego like I do with the deli man stuff?
No. First off, in my opinion, I'm a little too old to start learning how to wrestle. And second off, I have a couple of different health conditions that would prevent me from it. I have a bad back that I've talked about numerous times over the years, to the point where sometimes I've used a cane more often than not. Although I'm trying to fix that. Believe it or not, I've lost a significant amount of weight since the WrestleMania party.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm talking about this on the other show, WrestleMania, I weighed 502. When we were at Lucky 13, I was 502 pounds. And as of yesterday, I'm 438. So
that's awesome, man.
I don't know if that's because there's no more fast food during the COVID and there's no more pop for the most part. And also probably a bunch of stress helped me lose some weight.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to change my life for the better. Since I moved out here to Philadelphia, I've made it a goal. Like even though I'm still smoking cigarettes, I'm smoking non-nicotine, non-tobacco cigarettes. So
little at a time, man. Little at a time.
Right. I'm trying. That's what it is. And, that's one of the biggest conditions of me living in Chicago was I'm not just going to move from place to place and continue doing the same vices, that I previously had. I'm trying to change up my life,
Yeah.
So I
The
think this is the
sugar
way to
one
do it.
with the sodas is probably the biggest deal.
Man, soda's the hardest. I'll be honest, like dieting right now is a little bit difficult because obviously you don't have a choice of food. You get what you can. But soda in general in my life, it's a pain in the ass, dude. I love my sugar water.
I know. I honestly, when I gave you those sugar-free energy things back then, I said, he's going to throw that shit out.
I didn't. I really did use those. Matter of fact, the ones that were the best were the orange ones.
Yeah,
I love orange, dude.
My favorite is the orange and the lemon.
I didn't have lemon. It was orange, cherry, and grape is what you got.
Okay, I got to send you some lemon. I have you, Idris. I'll send you some lemon. They're just as good as the orange. It's like lemonade.
That's why I love Mountain Dew, because Mountain Dew is citrus flavored. Mountain Dew is absolutely horrible for you.
Yeah.
I've always loved citrus. Like I have like 2 gallons of orange juice in my fridge right now. I have like an entire box of Emergency. Like everything is about citrus and vitamin C. Like I don't know, even the V8 stuff. Like I love V8, but that's because it has that vitamin C in it.
The Fusion, the V8 Fusion, yeah.
No, I'm talking about straight V8s.
Oh, the tomato juice?
Oh, I love that stuff. Yeah.
I still love the mango. Yeah.
Mango is good too. Yeah, mangoes are very good. I love the Arizona mango tea. Even though it's like mostly sugar water, it still has that citrus and some natural fruit juices in there, which are delicious. But I'm trying, man. And I know I'm not at my perfect spot yet. And I guarantee, when everything clears up and I'm able to go outside freely and comfortably and able to explore Philadelphia and PA and Pittsburgh and everything, because that's what I really want to do. I want to go exploring because there's just so much history out here. But under the circumstances, it's really difficult. Like I'm driving places, but I want to get out and walk my ass off. And there's so many like little historic locations from different battles and different like tours and stuff that they have. I want to go on all of these because I love museums. I love like art history and stuff like that. It's just born into you as a Chicago boy. But I just want to check out all this stuff. And it's like right now everything is closed. So it's like, you want to do all this cool shit, but you can't do anything.
Yeah.
I'll get there, dude. As soon as it clears up.
Take your time, man. Yeah. Look at it like this. Right now I weigh 247. When I graduated high school, I was 255. So this is the lowest I've been since couple of years before graduation of high school. This was the lowest I've been since around 1986. So you look at 1986 to now, that is what, 34 years? Took me 34 years, about 35 years to get down to high school weight. So, it took me 35 years. And, sure, I had some health issues that gave me some scares the last couple of years, and that was like, okay, enough is enough. But, you take your time, man. Take your time. I mean, the job you've done so far is fabulous. I wasn't even going to say it, but I'll say it. When we were walking around for the big event, last month, you seem like you were walking better than me because I don't know if you remember. I was like, man, my fucking ankle is killing me. Not walking. I haven't walked around this much in a while.
Don't get it twisted. I had more than a few shots in me, bud.
Yeah, but you also went on for 3 more days with it. Me, I took an Uber back home and that was it.
No,
so
I was,
God bless, man.
We were liquored up. We were having a good time. I mean, it was a big celebration and stuff like that,
Yeah.
And
awesome.
No. For the most part, and somebody mentioned DDP yoga. I actually had a friend send me DDP yoga. I'm going to check it out. I used to have it way back in the day, and I used it a little bit, but I didn't get too much into it. But yeah, it's one of the things I'm changing. So that's what I'm looking at this as. Like I've had some people take shots at me, making fun
felt
of my past.
bad.
When I started wrestling Soup DT, I only weighed about 250, 240. So I wasn't big at all. And over these 10 years, I've gained all this weight, which is very bad.
Did the same thing, man. Did the same thing. I felt bad. I'll mention it here. When we did the charity event 2 Fridays ago, and I was making fun of my picture when I was 365. Like I was really making fun of myself, and you weren't going with it. And a few people, if you go back and you look at that YouTube.
I felt bad.
No, it's not that. It's that if you go back to that YouTube, because it's there, everybody could see it. there was a few people that got on my ass, like, because, you still have a journey to go. And me, I'm poking fun of what I used to weigh and everything. And like, that's not something to joke about. I wasn't, people understood that, I couldn't, I felt like I was looking at somebody else. I still feel like I haven't lost nothing. But the thing is that,
I thought it was kind of, that's not even what got me. I felt it was kind of sad that you were making fun of yourself for being there. Because, I mean, you obviously went through some trials in order to get to that weight. Nobody gets to these unhealthy weights without having some kind of things.
Yeah, no, I mean, look.
Right. That's why I was like, why are you making fun of it, DT? I mean, you've defeated that. It's not something
I know, you're right. You're 100% right. I guess in defense of myself, I just said, this is the lowest I weighed since the late 80s. So I guess I don't know what it's like to look at yourself hitting a goal like that. It's like, I don't even know how to react. Like, I've never been in this situation before. Even in the 80s, when I was 255, when I graduated high school, it wasn't that I was 3 and change and then went down. 255 was my highest. And just over the years, it would gradually go higher and higher and higher. And when I got married in the mid-90s, I was about 275. And when I was doing the stuff for Frank, I was about 287, 295. But I just hit it well. And so I guess I just don't know how to react, But I still have a ways to go. I still need to lose at least another 30. But a little at a time. Don't even think about it, man. Biggest success I've had in the last two years, especially the last years, I don't think about it. If you really want, the sugar is the most important thing, but if you really want something, you can have a little of it, but you just gotta, it's gotta be, look like as a holiday.
Right, so, rationing. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. So we have 3 questions left. Four, but one I don't really consider a question. Well, actually 5. 2 of them are music quickly. Andrew 914. Do I remember you call it annoying 1994 song, you said Funk That by Sagat. That original song was actually called Fuck That. But what happened was nobody ever envisioned it on becoming popular. And when that song started becoming popular and they wanted to air it on the radio, Sagat made a censored version of it. So instead of it being Fuck That. Now, I did a spoof on one of my wrestling shows about 5 years ago. I couldn't find the clip. I'll look a little bit further. Maybe I'll find it. But I did a spoof of this song. But, I don't know if you remember this song, Mish. I don't have it queued up or anything, but it would be like a funky beat, and then it would just stop, and this person would be like, why is it that every time I walk down the street, some asshole wants to stop to give me a flyer? Come on, man, fuck that. And it would just like go through the verses. And so that's what happened. I loved that song at the time. They came out with the censored version, and he would say funk that. I didn't like that at all. That was kind of caca. And David Peralta, 25th anniversary of Big L's Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, and Old Dirty Bastards return to the 36 Chambers. Any favorite songs from either of those two? On Big L's album, MVP, I always like the beat because in the background it bites off of Biggie Smalls' One More Chance. Put It On, I like that instrumental of, and Let 'Em Have It L is another one. I wasn't really fans of either one. Of Old Dirty Bastards, Return to the 36, I like Good Times and Dead Brain Cells because it kind of like spoofed, that one song, Baby, I Like It Raw, Baby, I can't do it right now, but Damage and Cutting Heads. So, I was always into hip hop, but that real deep hip hop, I never really got into all that much. Maybe one song here and there, but 3 questions left. Mario from the Barrio. Who else, Mish, would you want to see in a Boneyard match against Bray Wyatt? Oh no, excuse me. A boneyard. Who would you want to see have a boneyard match with Taker, and who would you want to see have a funhouse match with Bray? One opponent for each one.
For Undertaker, I think you could have a lot of fun with the Finn Balor character. I think the Finn Balor character, the demon and everything else like that, almost belongs in a boneyard match. I could see you doing a lot with that, especially if Taker's going to start using magic and teleportation. I can only imagine what powers Finn Balor might have. Now, granted, and I know everybody will say, "Oh, well, Finn Balor's going to lose that one." Absolutely, he is. But I think you could still have a lot of fun with that match, regardless. Bray Wyatt's Funhouse match. You almost have to keep it to older wrestlers or veteran wrestlers because new wrestlers would not benefit from that at all. Shoot. With Bray Wyatt, I would like to see them revisit the Randy Orton feud, especially with the death of his sister. And considering they had that first match, I think going back through time and everything else of Randy Orton's different characters and personas, from the young, what was he called? Randall Keith Orton, 99.9%, and going into the legend killer status and going in through all these different incarnations of Randy Orton could be interesting up against the Bray Wyatt. Yeah, I'll stick with those two for the moment, but I'm sure there's a lot of other people that can be chosen.
My choice is going to be a little bit out there, but I would be fascinated, especially since they let in a little bit of Undertaker's personal life with the AJ WrestleMania storyline. This is not a cop-out, but I actually am dead serious when I say this. Who would I want to face Undertaker in a Boneyard match? And who would I want to face Bray Wyatt in a Funhouse match? Very simple.
Each other.
Bray Wyatt in a Boneyard, Undertaker in the Funhouse.
That's not bad, and that could be crazy. The
crazy. Psychological stuff with Undertaker and some of the things that they could do, they could go back to when he was, they wouldn't go back to Mean Mark, but man, I tell you, I actually wouldn't mind to see them two commingling each other. Not at the same time because that would be, but nobody, everybody talks about Sting against Taker, and I'm like, nah, man, Bray against Taker in the Boneyard, Bray against Taker in the Funhouse. Of those two, I'd rather see Bray and Undertaker in the Funhouse than in the Boneyard. I would really be interested to see what they would, pull back from the curtains as far as Undertaker, how far they would go. But, so, yeah. But, and, by the way, David put out that song Brooklyn Zoo was one that I completely forgot as well. But those would be my picks. Mike, your best bargains, yes. I don't know if you remember him, Mish. Remember the manager, Ring of Honor, Larry Sweeney?
Oh, I loved Larry Sweeney, yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was pretty sure that you remembered him well. My memories of him is a man who suffered severe, severe depression.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he was looking for wrestling as a way to save him. And unfortunately, that was not the solution. I think he was on some serious meds as well. And there was some reports back then that he had gone off his meds but that guy had tremendous charisma.
He was MJF before MJF.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, people are so in love with MJF. It's like, man, I wish you guys had any idea how Larry Sweeney cut his promos. That guy was flamboyant. He was funny. He cut amazing promos, and he was good in the ring. And he could tell a story. My God, that man could tell stories in the ring. Like, he understood the audience. He understood how to keep the audience in the palm of his hand, which is very similar to how MJF does everything now. He's able to get people to just fucking hate him, and then he gets people to laugh their asses off the next second. I see a lot of similarities between those guys. Hopefully not the demons, though.
Yeah. Did you see what MJF did on Cameo?
No, no. What do you do?
For those that don't know, Cameo is a place where, a lot of wrestlers, musicians, sports people, celebrities, especially right now with coronavirus, everybody's home. You pay them X amount of dollars and they will record a video shout out to you for whatever you want. And, it's like a little keepsake. So, normally the prices seem to be like $40, might be pretty, just some higher and some lower. Yeah. There's some names on there that you'd be surprised that are on there. But MJF set up one, and he's charging $500. And he basically, his greeting video is, look, I don't care about any of you. I don't even want to do this, but you want it, you're going to have to pay me. And two people actually paid him $500.
Oh, I bet.
And I'm just thinking to myself, the ultimate dick is to take that $500 and then do the video and saying, I'm not wishing you happy birthday. I don't care about you. You know what I mean? Just totally berate the person. Some people that are fragile will. Yeah, there's no refunds.
Yeah. I know, but don't you think that's part of the joke? Don't you think people would actually mark out harder?
Yeah, that's what you should. Yeah,
blasted them. Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't so much money, I would seriously consider my little nephew that is a wrestling fan. I got a 9-year-old nephew that's a wrestling fan that kind of likes AEW a little bit. If he would charge maybe like $100, I would pay MJF $100 to go on the video and give my nephew the middle finger.
You'd make a lot more money at $100.
Yeah,
guarantee it.
Yeah, it's $500. That's Ric Flair money. Ric Flair charges something like that. So
right.
Paul Bielowski, he says Breakfast Soup is his favorite podcast of them all. Much love.
Thank you.
He's very happy for Gunner making it to the main roster.
It's Renee's too.
Oh, yeah. Renee said that the other day. Yeah. People know Renee Young wrote Breakfast Soup. She had breakfast. She had soup for breakfast. Wasn't a shout out to us, but apparently, a lot of people went out of their way, including me. I put a little picture up. But she now knows, if she didn't know before, that there was a podcast called Breakfast Soup featuring us. Renee Young is familiar of both your show and mine for various reasons, especially based on some of the attire she's worn in the past, Right. But no, it was pretty cool. I got a kick out of that. But he always pulls for ex-service members, so he's happy for Gunner being on the main roster. He thought AJ did a great job in the Boneyard match. He wishes other guys in the company could run, take the ball and run with it, as good as like AJ did, especially on that storyline, because I think a lot of us really in the beginning were like AJ versus Undertaker, especially after what we saw in Saudi Arabia. We thought it was going to be bullshit 10-second match and done. He wants to know, when will Becky come clean as a true heel? He feels it's evident. She's such a douche in her character, and he thinks that Bayley is one of the worst women champions ever. I think that's Becky rough.
Is not going to become a heel until Ronda comes back. And you know what? And when Ronda comes back, I have a feeling that she's going to be a heel, because I have this feeling that she's going to hook up with Shayna. Yeah. I don't know. They like Becky in her role, and it is what it is. Even though she's stale, boy, oh boy, is that girl stale. Well, she needs a refresher course bad. And they've had, and the sad thing is we've talked about Becky ad nauseum, but Becky has had moments where she could have really shined. And I keep going back to the moment when Baron Corbin dropped her with an end of days in the middle of the ring. And Seth should have snapped and beat the shit out of Baron Corbin at that moment. They had this entire setup to make Becky a sympathetic babyface, and then next week, business as usual. It's like, you guys are idiots.
You know who I think Becky should be feuding with right now? What led to the birth of the man?
Oh, Nia?
Yeah. She's back.
I don't know what Nia. I know. She's already taken herself a hole of hot water. I mean, I don't know if you caught her throwing shade at Ronda Rousey, talking about how unsafe she is without naming her. You know, it's kind of like a pot calling the kettle black. I'm like, Naya's hurt more than a few girls in the ring, you know, purposely or and intentionally or non intentionally, doesn't matter. She's done it. So it's kind of weird when you're sitting there and calling out, you know, Ronda's mistakes when you yourself have a bunch of mistakes underneath your belt too. And people still keep bringing up, you know, my example of like, because me and Joe got into this discussion a while back, and I told him, I'm like, you know, is it possible? Is it possible that Nia Jax is a JBL? Is it possible that Nia Jax is a Bob Holly? That she's a fixer for Vince McMahon when it comes to the women? And Joe adamantly states that that's not a thing, that no, she's not doing that. But sometimes I wonder. I still wonder if Nia Jax is the fixer for the women in WWE.
Yeah. I tell you, I'm gonna probably talk about it tomorrow because I have a feeling that Kevin is gonna bring this up. But you know, when I think the Ronda Rousey stuff, especially, I come to one conclusion: what you just said about Nia, Ronda's recent comments, some of the other stuff that's been said online, edge towards fans who criticizes WrestleMania match. You know, just across the board, I think WWE has just lost total control, or WWE has lost the capability of explaining to the. Remember how WWE would want all of their wrestlers to show up dressed in suits and professional, and you're reflecting the company? It's not just a physical appearance, it's a psychological appearance too. And it just feels like WWE's lost all control of the wrestlers, just keeping it in check. Like, people just have become too comfortable in causing shit online and thinking that their job is still secure because WWE needs them more than they need WWE. Unless you're the Revival. So
yeah, it's a weird story too.
Yeah, right? Why all of a sudden people like giving a shit about them? Who really wants to see them do no flips but take on the elite? You know,
I think a lot of people are looking at it like firing somebody at Christmas. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was a little bit of a dick move. I mean, maybe see,
they supposedly wanted it though, but it's like,
but then why didn't WWE say we granted them? I don't think WWE said that we granted them their release.
No,
it didn't feel like, if it would have felt like, look, they requested a release, we gave it to them.
I know, but you know what? I would have been like, look, guys, can you hold off for a couple months? We're going to pay you. Just chill until this shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just another opportunity for positive press in a positive way to be held in the media that WWE passes on. So
yeah. I agree with you, Paul. Women's tag teams are almost non-existent right now. I mentioned this Friday. I'll say it again. I think the Kabuki Warriors are going to be splitting very, very soon. The rumors of Kairi Sane going back to Japan, I think, are a little bit more solid than people think. You see what they're doing now. You know, obviously some women are staying home, but some are making a quick appearance and then leaving again. The women's tag team division in WWE is going to be hurt for a while. And if the biggest buzz is the Iconics coming back, that should give you an idea how bad it is. Iconics sucked. The Iconics sucked. They had a title run that was the record, I think, in history at the time, and I think they only had 2 matches for 2 defenses, I think. So the women's tag division in WWE is a big problem right now. Now that Strowman is the champ, and they'll eventually want Roman to get that belt, do we see a heel turn coming? He'd rather see Strowman as a heel. Do you think Strowman would turn heel if he faces Roman down the line?
I would love it if Braun Strowman would go back to being a monster heel. Quote on the monster. Braun Strowman as a babyface just doesn't work. They don't know how to utilize him correctly in order to keep him as a monster and a face. They've tried to dumb him down. They've done really, really stupid gimmicks with the guy. I don't know. Braun Strowman needs to be like dipped in carbonite and brought out in a couple years, you know, because I think that his character needs a complete refresher course.
You put him in one of those chambers that preserves him. Like Ted Williams, I think, is in it. Yeah.
Well, no, I was thinking more like Han Solo from, Return of the
Oh, okay. I never was into Star Trek. So
Yeah.
Mark Hamill fucking hates Trump, man. You ever see Mark Hamill's tweets? He's just vicious on Trump. Oh my God, Luke Skywalker, he is vicious on Trump. Oh boy. And finally, have we ever heard of the Italian comic that is featured on Netflix a lot, Sebastian Maniscalco. Sebastian Maniscalco. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I'm not familiar.
I am not, but did I say Star Trek? Star Wars. I'm sorry, Star Wars.
I thought you
yeah.
said that on purpose, so I was just okay.
Oh, no, I meant Star Wars. Yeah, no. I remember as a kid, one of my earliest memories as a kid was the lines to see Star Wars in 1977.
Yeah.
I did not wait on those lines. I remember my mom making me wait online with her a crazy ass long line so she could see Grease when Grease came out. I think that might have been 78. But yeah, no, I was never, in fact, my favorite memory of Star Wars, other than Spaceballs, was that Star Wars Christmas special when Chewbacca had the wife and the kids. It like
so bad.
it is the worst thing in the history of Star Wars, and I'm like, good. That's the only memory I want from Star Wars. The funny thing, though, is, and I have a picture somewhere. When Star Wars came out in the late 70s, 2 years in a row, I dressed up as not R2D2, C3PO. I actually dressed as C3PO for Halloween. I have a picture somewhere. I was like 9 years old, I think, somewhere around there. It was like 9 years old. I dressed as C3PO for Halloween.
Okay.
With that, we are done, everybody. About 2 hours, which was good.
Excellent.
I know you have a lot of things to do for Easter. I'm going to go inside and cook my significant other some dinner. I already ate, so I'm good. But
Very nice.
Mish, pleasure as always, man. I'll talk to you during the week because we may have to do a little YouTube return. People want to see us do this. So maybe we could do that. Maybe we'll do it on YouTube. Yeah.
We also have to do that interview too. So
yeah. Well, you let me know this week, and I'll definitely work around you. I'll make sure I'm around for that. So,
all right, perfect, DT.
All right,
Much
my friend.
love, everyone. Thank you very much.
Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bud.
Later.
Bye.
All right, everybody. I want to thank you for spending some time with us on your Easter Sunday for those who celebrate. Much love as always. I am Don Tony, bidding you well for now. Monday night will be the DTKC show. Wednesday will be Wednesday Night Dynamite. Kev, I think, is doing his solo show this Tuesday, Castle Chronicles. Then Friday will be the Don Tony show on YouTube. And we'll see what's going on by next weekend. Maybe I'll come up Saturday or Sunday to do a blah, blah, blah. We haven't done a blah, blah, blah in probably about a month with everything that's going on. So I think it's about time to get one of those in the bag. So I'm going to jet out of here. So everybody be well. Much love as always. And I will catch you all again soon. Thank you, everybody. Be well. Stay safe.
It's really
The
simple.
man some fucking breakfast soup, bitch.
This looks like a job for me, so everybody just follow me. Cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty without
Breakfast soup.
And I said, what about
Breakfast soup.
I need to tell you something.
Breakfast soup.
Be fresh, gotta go downstairs. Gotta have my bowl, gotta have
Breakfast soup.